The next stage of this pergola project is to take these 2x12 hemlock boards and turn them into beam material, and then we'll be installing them towards the tops of our posts. We opted to use a locally sourced hemlock. We wanted to steer away from some other wood species like pressure treated or maybe cedar, which was out of our price point for this project. I'm sighting down the board to crown my lumber. All of the lumber does have a slight curvature to it, and we want to make sure that that curvature is oriented the same on all of these boards. Once I know where the top of the crown is, I'm going to mark the top because I don't want to mark the face of the board because it will be finished. I'm checking each end of this board to determine which side we want to start our cuts from. Down here, I see that the board is cupped. We've got a big knot at the end. So I'm going to come down to the other end of the board. I see that it's very flat. So we're going to cut this side off square to start and then cut that side off as our waist. Now I've got a square edge to pull from. The plans call for beams that are 16 feet long, and I have also verified this on the posts that we installed earlier. Now we're ready to cut the decorative angles on these boards. We're gonna cut the decorative angle at the bottom of the board, and we know that this is the bottom because we put a crown mark on the top of the board. I'm gonna make a mark at 5.5 inches because that will be the width of our rafter tail. I'm then gonna turn my speed square over, run it to the mark, scribe my line, and cut this off. Now I'm going down to the other end of my board to make the same decorative cut down at this end. Then I'll have 3 more boards to cut, and then we'll be ready to install. This locally sourced hemlock is very durable. I'm gonna crown it. It's a nice middle of the road option. It's gonna last a long time. So the crown is on this side. And some of the characteristics that you might see of this lumber: chainsaw marks at the end of the board, fiber tear from where the log fell off of the stump. Sometimes you might see variations in thickness or width, but we specifically had this ordered, planed to a specific thickness and width that we asked for. Let's flip this over and stack it, and then we'll grab the next one. And I'm gonna crown it. And I'm gonna crown it. One of the nice things about working with sawmill lumber is if they send you longer lengths than you needed, you can be a little bit more selective with what you cut off to get your board started. Here I chose to cut off about 16 inches from this end of the board where I could get into some flatter material. I'm installing some 2x4 cleats right on our posts, and this will be a little bit of a ledge so that when we muscle the beams up in place, we have a place for them to rest on. So the next step is we're gonna mark the post locations on the beams so we know where to register them when we install them. Right here, I'm making a mark at the bottom of our 2x12 beam where it will come into alignment with the outside edge of our 6x6 post. And I'm gonna make that mark on the ends of all of our beams. Right here, I'm just double checking my measurements on these layout marks that I made. I wanna verify that the overall length from mark to mark is also the same as the overall width from outside of one post to the outside of the other post. And it's spot on. We're gonna get these all nice and even with each other, and then we're gonna transfer those marks. And I'll do the same at the other end. And now we're ready to install. Slide to me. And I'm gonna put a screw in it to hold it. I made sure to put my screw low on the material because our hardware will end up covering that screw. Now that we have our beam tacked in place, we can get rid of the cleats. We'll go ahead and install the rest of the beams, and then we can install our hardware. A little more to you, please. Yes. I really like the face of this. So this is gonna be on a prominent side that will be visual, whereas if we have some imperfections, we're gonna wanna hide them on the inside of the beam. All right, it's gotta slide to me, a 1/4 inch. Yep, that's it. And I think we can put screws in it. Okay, give me a little bump. That's perfect. I'm gonna check it with the torpedo. So mine can actually come up. I'm just gonna put this shim under it just to get it so the tops are leveled out. All right, I'm gonna go with that there. Okay. This piece of hardware is called a deck joist tie, and it's part of the Outdoor Accents line from Simpson Strong Tie. What I like about this is that it's powder coated and have some decorative elements to it, but it's also structural. To position this, we're just eyeballing it on the post, making sure that the reveal on either side of the hardware looks uniform. It installs pretty easily with these hex head washers and structural wood screws. One of the great things that I like about those structural wood screws is that we don't have to pre-drill to really get them set nice. When installing this piece of hardware, we're only using 3.5-inch structural wood screws because we're going only into the post. But up top here, we're using 5.5-inch wood screws because we're going through the beam and the post.